I want to start this video off notifying everyone that this game is no longer receiving updates. All future plans for this title were cancelled back in April of 2021. EA claims they will keep the servers running, but who knows how long that will last. When I usually make this type of video, I factor in patches, updates, and price drops, but for Anthem, we're solely looking at the price drop. And that's like going to be the deciding factor if you should even think about even giving this game a try because it's like what 3 or 4 years old by now. Anyway, as always, I'm going to start with the bad. Okay, and the first thing I'm going to say about this game that's bad is the load times are really long. I mean, like really, really long. I believe they're like a minute, maybe like a minute and 10 seconds, and that's just crazy, especially nowadays with the PlayStation 5. We're not used to load times being anywhere close to that. Okay, the next thing that really bothered me is the lack of content. One of the things you quickly realize about this game is it is severely lacking content. Now, right off the bat, I'm gonna let you guys know there is no form of PvP, and the PvE present here doesn't provide a wealth of variety. These types of games are repetitive by nature, but the overall lack of content magnifies this issue in Anthem. It gets so repetitive so fast. Now, all the game modes you see here are basically the exact same things presented differently with varying degrees of difficulty. But at the core of Anthem, you will be doing the exact same thing over and over again in each one of these modes. The only thing that's kind of different, I guess, is free play because you get a chance to explore and, basically go all over the map without being, told to go one direction over the other. You basically have complete free reign over what you're going to do on the map and where you're going to go on it. But at the same time, you're still going to be doing the exact same thing that you did in a regular expedition or stronghold. Something that really surprised me about this game was how the always online multiplayer aspect of this game just feels completely out of place and just completely unnecessary. It's easy to tell this was a single player story focused game that was repurposed at the last minute to compete with Destiny. The character creation is a complete waste of time because you never see your character outside of a javelin, and the hub world, I believe it's called Fort Taurus, is entirely in first person view for no apparent reason. This game is packed full of so many strange design choices. The fact that players can't even see each other outside of their javelins in the hub world is mind blowing. Now, I know you can see each other, I believe it's like the launching bay or something. I can't remember the exact name of it. But to compete with Destiny, I kind of just expected it to be a lot more connective as far as like the multiplayer aspects of the game go. You don't really need to play with other players aside from an experience bonus, or you're trying to like make a mission easier. That I never really felt a push for this to be a socially interactive game. It felt very much like a single player game that had a multiplayer portion just crammed into it, and basically like it overtook the overall project. I really wish this had have been a single player game. I was interested in Anthem when I first saw it because I thought it was a single player title, and I got this game to play it as a single player title. And I have to say, I'm actually pleasantly surprised. It has a lot of story here. There's tons of cutscenes, there's text documents, there's just a lot of story here that I was not expecting. And it honestly feels better to me than Division or Destiny. I'll talk about that more once we segue into the good. But right now, let's talk about some things I'm kind of neutral on, and that's the gameplay. The aiming and shooting feel just okay. The melee, it feels like it will be better with the lock on. You get used to it after a while, but you never shake the feeling of it needing a lock on, or possibly it could be better. And the aiming, it just doesn't really feel as tight as Division. It's another third person game that's similar to this, and I feel like it's just a little too loose for me. Also, I feel like the shooting should be more impactful. Like the bullets feel great when they leave your gun, but when you hit enemies, you just don't really feel much. On top of that, too, enemies disappear as soon as they die. This kind of just, for me personally, detracts from the entire experience. Another thing that I was neutral on is the loot system. Now, I don't think it's bad, but in comparison to Division and Destiny, I do believe it's inferior. Now, what's presented here is just very, plain, mundane, and vanilla. It's not bad, it's just not special either. It's just very forgettable. One positive I can attribute to this game's loot is the crafting system was very easy to understand and it was just super smooth. I don't think I've ever encountered a crafting system this easy. And I mean, I guess that is, a bit of a good thing in my opinion. Maybe it might be bad to you guys, but I actually did like how easy it was to craft items. Okay, now let's talk about what I actually enjoyed. I was genuinely surprised at how much I liked the story and lore of this game. Unlike Division and Destiny, your character isn't mute and you're given a choice between a male or female voice actor. In Anthem, the story takes place directly behind your character. I prefer this to the usual method of storytelling presented in these types of games. And in standard BioWare fashion, you are given text options when engaging with NPCs. Now, the text options don't really seem to matter that much. They do affect like what the person will say, but it's very vague. It's nowhere near as deep as what we've seen in Mass Effect and Dragon Age. With that being said, though, it's a welcome addition. I actually like it a lot. It gives the game its own identity, and it kind of just gives you an extra incentive when talking to people in Fort Taurus. I like that, I get a chance to make a decision on what I say or how I say something. Even if it's only one of two, I felt like if they had to put three decisions in there, it could have been perfect. They should have had angry, neutral, and nice. That would have been perfect in my opinion. But what we have here is actually pretty good. I'm glad they put a voice actor for your character. I'm glad you actually have an input on what's going around in the story as it progresses. Another thing that genuinely surprised me about this game was how good flying feels. It gets better with time. After a while, you'll find yourself pulling off crazy maneuvers or even incorporating flight into combat. You can tell a lot of time and effort went into this, and it's really good. It's something that really helps like define this title and set it apart from all the other games it's trying to be like. I also really liked the designs of the javelins, the characters, and the overall art style. It was very easy for me to click with this game because it was all so visually appeasing. Anthem is PlayStation Pro and Xbox One X enhanced, and it shows. This is still a very good looking game with large and expansive maps and detailed environments. I actually really like how big the maps are. I just wish there was more content and gameplay variety. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up and give you guys my opinion on is it worth it or not. Now, if you are looking for something like Destiny or Division, then no. It doesn't matter whatever price you buy in at. There's simply not enough content here to appease you. The way this game is designed, it's not as good as those titles in that regard. In the social aspect, in the multiplayer aspect, there is no PvP. The PvE is very bare bones. There is simply not a lot of content here. Now, if you are looking for a single player game, then absolutely. I recommend this to almost everybody as a single player game for $2. I think it's like $1.95 or something. You could do a lot worse. The graphics are beautiful. The story is actually really good. I'm still surprised by that. There's loads of cutscenes. The best advice I can give you guys if you want to play this game, you're curious about this game, treat it like a single player title that you can do co-op with. That's the best way I can describe having a good time with this game. If you try to lean into a lot of the things that they added, like to compete with Destiny and Division, I don't really think you're going to have a good time. It is just really repetitive and really mundane and monotonous. I just didn't really enjoy myself playing that portion of the game. When I treated this like, solely as a single player game or a co op game, I actually did enjoy myself. I liked the story, I liked the characters, the voice actors did a wonderful job. It's just a really good game, surprisingly, for the story. Well, anyway, man, that's just my opinion, man. Hopefully, you guys like this video, put a lot of time into it. Like, comment, subscribe, share. If you disagree, dislike it, leave a comment though. All right, man. I'll see you on the next video.
After you, princess.
I could not dishonor myself by eating while my guests go hungry.